Hi, my name is Kpfahl, and I'm here to tell you the truth about killer whales. As a child, I remember going to SeaWorld and cannot waiting to see the big attraction Shamu. Being oblivious to the problem at the time, I had no idea that there were so many problems behind stage. Blackfish is a document based on one of the biggest killer whales in captivity, Tilikum. He is father of a majority of the killer whales born in captivity. He has a record of 3 killings, a whole bunch of attacks, and they're not really sure what to do from here about that. SeaWorld has recognized the problem, but is not willing to admit that it is their fault or the whales. They will never become fully domesticated, and there has been many studies proving that they are best kept in the wild. Health issues, living conditions, and what happens when whale attacks are what I would like to talk to you guys about and inform you about. Previously being a fan of SeaWorld, I hope that you are able to put those feelings aside and let me be the voice of Tilikum. Health issues I would like to discuss is the first one, lifespan. Killer whales in the wild can live up to 50 to 90 years, which is relatively normal to a human being, whereas in captive, 30 is about the mid-range, and people at SeaWorld are taught to tell them that 30 is the average lifespan of a whale, which is far from the truth. Orca pods are typically female dominant, so when they introduce a new male to the pod, he's bound to get beat up. Tilikum went through this a lot. They noticed it in the first attack that he was a few months later. He was all cut up, and they think that that's one of the triggers to why he attacked one of the trainers, who ended up unfortunately dying after that. Mating issues are huge here. As I said before, Tilikum is father to a majority of the whales in captivity. They say that personality can kind of fall over from generation, so knowing that he's aggressive, they probably should not be mating him. And that's actually the reason why they purchased him, was for mating issues, because they needed a male to, do that. A dorsal fin is a huge thing at SeaWorld. A lot of people go into the shows and notice that the dorsal fin is flopped over. This only happens in 1% of the orcas in the wild, and it happens to 100% of orcas in captivity. This is for the lack of exercise, and I'm actually going to talk about this a little bit more in their living conditions. Also, they have a weakened immune system. They have tried to release one of the captive orcas in the wild. He was able to get food, he was able to connect with other whales, but he died, I think it was maybe 3 years later, to a weakened immune system. This is from SeaWorld, or every other place, drills holes into the whale's teeth. Again, I'm going to speak about this more in the living conditions, but they do that so they can't bite certain things. With that being said, it weakens their immune system because every day they have to flush out their teeth, which is basically like a daily medication for them. Now, talking about their living conditions, I'll start with the teeth. They have these holes, which I believe come down with the tanks to separate all the whales, and I would assume that they do this mainly at night, where the whales bite at these, and they're made of metal and cement, and obviously that's not good if the whale's eating that. But so they drill the holes to stop that. Going back to their dorsal fin, the reason why it flops is because of the lack of exercise, because they would have to swim 1,400 times around that pool to get the appropriate amount of exercise that they do every day in the wild. Now going to when they attack, there's only been 6 incidents recorded in the wild where a whale has mistaken a human for food, or just wanted to kind of prey them and play around with them. None of them have been fatal. There's been a number of attacks in SeaWorld. 3 of them have resulted in death, and that's only at SeaWorld, and there's been many others around the world that have also resulted in death. But when they attack, especially in captivity, really nothing can be done. The whales use their pool and the surrounding kind of as like a mechanism to hold the human and to eventually kill them. They push them up against the walls, which they would not have in the wild. It's all shallow water, which is easier for them to keep the prey in one area. And in the wild, they don't have that. And scientists believe that's why there's no such thing as, whales killing in the wild, because they don't have those things to keep the human trapped. So when they attack in captivity, not much can be done. The trainers, if other trainers are in the area, they will try to use their calls and, slap the water, try to get them to come back. But really, in reality, not much of that happens. There's a picture kind of what their space is like in captivity. Like I said, they'd have to swim around that 1,400 times just to get the appropriate exercise. And this is in memory of Dawn. She was killed by telecom recently, or I think it was a few years ago. But John Jett in a chat interview claims that this is not really the right environment for them. We know that they're intelligent now, and maybe there's just not much more that can be learned about them through the marine park. So in conclusion, my best advice is not to go to any amusement park where there's animals that could be kind of being abused in a sense. Continue to educate yourself on the topic. If you haven't seen Blackfish already, it's a really great document. It's on Netflix. It broke my heart watching it and made me want to do a speech on it. And you can also adopt a whale. I adopted a whale. He's out in Washington. His name's Nigel. I gave $30 to a foundation where they're going to try to keep the whales out in the wild rather than spending $50 for one day at an amusement park. So, in conclusion, I hope I have convinced you to no longer enjoy any time at SeaWorld and to educate yourself on this topic. Thanks for listening.